Who in their right mind would take a Range Rover Evoque off-roading? Well, I can't vouch for the right mind thing, but I can confirm we've done what no Evoque ever sold will actually do. Get rough, tough and dirty. Plus, we'll see what happens when you show it a couple of rather large bumps along the way. As always, our skills off-road are lacking in the extreme, and as such, any accomplishments the Range Rover Evoque manages are completely down to its own capabilities and certainly nothing to do with the spanners behind the wheel. Approach and departure angles seem as good a place to start as any, thanks in part to the short wheelbase for a car of this size and the philosophy Range Rover religiously sticks to, putting the wheels as close to the corners of the vehicle as possible. The Evoque takes on crests and dips incredibly well, particularly taking into account how low the ride height looks to the naked eye. This means you'll certainly start conquering most obstacles with gusto. Unfortunately, things from there start to go a little wonky. Sure, it may have four-wheel drive, but as any enthusiast knows, it's how you provide drive to all four wheels that really counts when on the rough stuff. So let's talk differentials for a moment. The Evoque boasts an electronically controlled diff connected to a computer that supposedly makes intelligent decisions on your behalf depending on current conditions. I cannot stress enough the key word there is boasts, as unfortunately that's about all it can actually do. Anyone with even the smallest amount of off-roading experience knows that the key to successfully navigating any obstacle is preparation. Examine it, plan a route, prepare the vehicle, then tape everything down and go for it. What you don't have time for is making changes mid-obstacle and locking and unlocking differentials every time the terrain changes slightly is a one-way ticket to disaster. Therein lies the problem with an electronic diff with no manual override, as the computer is constantly struggling to find traction rather than assuming you need the maximum amount from the get-go, which would simply allow you to glide over most simple and intermediate-sized challenges rather than making an absolute handful of it. As it is, you get the pain of an awful lot of wheel spin, failed attempts and unnecessary mechanical strain placed on the vehicle simply due to the electronic diff not being able to make its mind up. I have to admit that with the low profile the vehicle imposes, we may have chickened out of testing the wading depth for fear of getting stuck and having to hike back thousands of kilometers through the African bush to find that all-important beer at the end of a 4x4 trip. That being said, however, the fancy 4x4 modes do seem to manage traction on soft ground while wading through water incredibly well, and from that I can only assume the same would apply for other loose surfaces such as sand, where all four wheels are grounded at all times. Overall, I'm slightly disappointed with the Range Rover Evoque from an off-road point of view. While it may be excellent on-road and quite a joy to drive in fact, I really had high hopes that this would be a bit of an underdog in the 4x4 world. On the outside, it looks to be dressed in Prada and Gucci, while being fully kitted in Arctic North Face gear underneath. Disappointingly though, the simple lack of manual overrides to many of the crucial 4x4ing systems means that other, more basic cars such as the Suzuki Jimny will run rings around the Evoque, and therefore it slips down into the clutches of your normal, typical soft-roading SUV. Sure, it'll get you through a tough spot or two, but if it's a sleeper 4x4 you're after, you're going to have to look elsewhere for the time being. But you never know, if we're really lucky and Range Rover listens to this and to all the advice, maybe, just maybe, the next version might come equipped with a couple of the features it really needs to stand out from the crowd when being off-road.